This episode is brought to you by Gazelle, the all-in-one business management software for piano technicians like you who want to spend less time juggling calendars and more time doing the work you love. Whether you are growing your skills or your business, Gazelle will help you save time and wow customers. Visit growwithgazelle.com to learn more. I'm McKinley Coda, and you're listening to the Pro PTN Podcast, an interview talk show for piano technicians to tune in to what the pros are talking about from across the industry. If you enjoyed today's episode, show us some love by following us on your podcasting platform and leaving us a review. To learn more about us here at the Professional Piano Technicians Network, visit us at proptn.org. Hello and welcome to the show. I am your host, McKinley Coda, and today I am thrilled to be joined by one of my absolute favorite people from the European piano scene, Sandra Dębska. Sandra, in addition to being the founder and developer of the Piano Guard humidity control system, has also begun the process of taking over her father's rebuilding business, Piano Renovation, which is currently in its 39th year. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Hi, McKinley. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Now, why don't you get us started by telling us how you got started in this business and where it has taken you over the years?
So actually the story begins with my father, who founded Piano Renovation Professional like 40 years ago almost. And I grew up around pianos, so pianos were everywhere, like in the living room, near the bathroom, at the workshop, and around my room, so pianos were everywhere. But not only pianos, there were also people passionate about the pianos. So first of all, my parents, and then all of their friends. And our house was always full of melodies and laugh and singing. Although they did not perform, we still had this beautiful feeling of being totally immersed into the music. So I was born into that, and I was born into the smell of glue and felt and wood.
Yeah.
And one of the earliest memories I have when we moved to Kalisz, to the center of piano restoration, we had a house, and under my bedroom there was this small workshop of my dad, who was always tuning pianos in the evening because, that was his time. I don't know why. And I always heard this annoying sounds like do-do, 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 and I cannot even replay that, but it was driving me crazy, literally. But finally, after tuning the piano, there was this final moment where he had to test it fully. And he always played this beautiful melody. It was called Ballet pour Adeline. And it's the melody I love the most. And I can even play that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it stayed with me till today, And I always knew that when he played it, the piano is finished. And on the next day, we'll just go to the customer. And it was very beautiful, and I felt kind of a satisfaction that finally I can sleep. But I also felt that it's the end, and the piano is restored, and I knew that when it's restored, my father is satisfied. So I just remember it that way. But honestly, that was the only beautiful memory because when I was a teenager, I really started to hate is a big word, but I didn't like pianos any longer.
Yeah, you were sick of them.
I was, every dinner conversation turned into a conversation about the piano industry, the piano world, geometry of the soundboard.
Yeah.
You cannot imagine about piano text, everything. And I remember myself rolling eyes and asking my parents and myself how many pianos they can really be in the world. I mean, what the hell? It was an abstraction to me at that time.
Yeah.
So I just had enough of it. So I remember when I was growing, I started studies. I used to travel a lot around the world. I had my work already. I was an English teacher at that time for kids. And I was trying to find myself. I didn't want to stay in a family business. But all of a sudden, my mom called. One day, I was 25 at the time, and she asked me to help out because my father had really serious health issues. So he had to stay in a hospital and have this time off for a while. And I knew that I cannot say no, so just packed my things and I went to Kalisz, and I had to face it because, I couldn't say no. I know how much time they devoted to build this company, how much money they spent on it, how much passion they put into that. So I just had to be there, and I just could not waste this legacy. It was very hard because I faced people who used to work with my father for years already, and I saw their faces seeing me.
Oh.
And asking what this young lady is doing here. And at first I told them, don't worry, it's temporary. I'm going to be there only for an administration work, sending emails, doing quotes, At first it was that way. But then when I immersed, I very quickly realized that it's not enough to leave that company. And, phone calls from the customers about the restorations, asking more and more detailed questions.
Yeah.
And the questions I really had no answer to. I really did not know what to tell them. And I knew inside that I'm losing them, that they do not trust me any longer. So it was very hard to face. And then I quickly knew I have to do something. So my first step was just to go to the workshop and just shadow each technician, asking them endless questions. They were pretty annoyed with me at the time. And I was asking, why do we choose this hammers over this? Why do we choose this adjustment over that one? Why we're doing this, not this? And actually, all of these questions and answers became like a huge foundation of knowledge that I have today, right now. And actually, I'm still learning because each restoration is a new lesson, of course. It's fun, piano has new things to do. And it keeps going. But at that time, my God, it was very frustrating. And there were days I was thinking like, oh my God, I will never handle it.
It really is an endless learning pool, or it's more like a fire hydrant of information. Yeah.
Yes, even my father, who's turning 36 years this year, he still says that you never finish learning about pianos.
Yeah.
There's always something new. There's always something you have to approach, and you have to find a solution, and you have to be super creative and innovative. And
I feel like going in and challenging yourself to learn so much about an industry that you didn't even like to begin with, and is so endlessly complicated. I have so much admiration for doing that. I'm a little disappointed the technicians weren't as impressed that you're putting in that much effort, but that's no little thing.
Yeah, I agree with you from this perspective, but when I was there, I felt them and I felt their eyes on me, and they were watching me and having some comments on me, and I really had to face that. And at that time it was very hard. I was very young, I was very immature, maybe. I didn't understand it that much, but finally I came to a conclusion that if you want to be really good at something, you just have to go and just go deep into that and just immerse and totally go into this. Do not look all around, just focus on something. Even then, I didn't like that much, but it was a challenge. And that was something that made me think, okay, let's try it. You have to learn your whole life. There's a new lesson. Let's go for it. Maybe there will be some good conclusions. And I tried to keep, positive and enthusiastic. And actually, I think it came a little bit contagious among all the piano techs we hired. And we made it, I guess.
What were some of the things you wish you would have known when you started that process?
I knew already that my dad was stubborn, but I didn't know I was stubborn as he is. And you can imagine the fireworks in our workshop and in our office, where we had to face and, exchange ideas, because I really wanted to develop internationally, going to Asia, going to the US. But at the very beginning, it was very hard. So we focused mostly in Europe and the European piano market, which has ups and downs, and you have to be prepared for better and worse times. So you have to be very cautious about that. And what I should have known at that time is that I have to be cautious, because I wanted to make decisions quickly, while my father told me, let's think for a second, let's think a little bit more, let's just write pluses and minuses of the situation, what we should do, how we should respond. Don't be
rash, we might say in English.
You're rash, yes.
Impulsive,
yes. Oh yeah, that's all about me. So I had to face that. And what else I wish I knew was This business is totally different from what I faced as an English teacher or as an accountant in a huge corporation, because I used to be one. And leading a company over 20 people is really a lot. I've never faced that. I know you had to deal with their humors, you had to deal with their thoughts, with the way they were thinking, you were thinking, and the way that you want to go through the restoration, but there are no piano parts. You have to wait for them. There's delay, or somebody made a mistake during the restoration, some piano tech, and they didn't tell you about that. But it turned out it had an influence on the entire process of the rest of it. So I also learned that you have to be very honest. And I remember that with my dad, we started this first meeting during a lunch break with our piano techs. We talked with them that we just need to be honest about work. If we make a mistake, just come to us. We will find a solution. Because if we would not find a solution, it would just not go. And we just need to deliver it finally to the customer. So working with people is very hard. You have to find the proper words, because words have power, like literally a lot. You have to be very humble about that, especially in Poland, because in majority people who are working as a piano techs, they're a little bit elder and much more experienced, and they are feeling offended very easily. So you have to be very careful about that. And honestly, that's the biggest issue you're facing. So it sounds it's not that big, but in order to communicate with them, you have to be very careful, but also straightforward, which is hard to combine, together.
Taking egos into consideration, perhaps.
Exactly, yes.
So then, what are some organizational practices that you feel are a must for taking over and managing a rebuilding business and its team, especially if it's 20 technicians? Any tips, tricks, procedures that you would recommend for someone preparing to go through the same process?
First of all, I would wish luck. First of all, you need to have everything documented. So if I have an instrument that comes to our workshop, I prepare a file of an instrument. So it's brand, its serial number, year of production, when it came to us, when it should be delivered to the customer, who's the customer, and what are his demands and wishes. And then the full description, what we got at the moment. I also learned that this documentation is very good for the customer, especially if you, open a Google photo album, which you can share with him. So he's introduced to every step of restoration process, and then you earn his trust. You build it because he knows what's going on with his pianos, and he knows that we're going as he wanted us to go. So all his wishes are fulfilled. He feels satisfied. We feel happy about that. So I think this is very good to have documentation organized from the very beginning to the very end. Yeah. Also, I take pictures before examination of the piano. So, for example, how many cracks are in the soundboard? I know what's the weight of the key at the moment, what's the harmony, how do we like it from 1 to 10, and so on and so forth. So it's very detailed, I would say. Then pictures and short description what is happening during restoration, which takes 6 months sometimes. Yeah. And then by the very end, we take the pictures after restoration. We take pictures of a little bit comparison so they can see the difference, and they love that. Of course, I do not experience that with each customer, because some people have like strict wish, I want to know what's going on, and some of them say, okay, just go for it, I don't need this document. Yeah. But it's mostly for me. So if in 2 years something would happen to that instrument and he's calling me, oh, Sandra, that string just broke, cracked, can you tell me what are the measurements? And just in a few seconds I can tell him what was the measurement of the particular string, because I have it all. So wow. It's very good to have it. And the other thing is, I love technology generally, but if it comes to planning, I love to have something in front of myself that I can touch and move. So in our office we have one wall dedicated for our schedule of piano, like it's piano schedule, let's say. And it shows you through which step of restoration the piano already went through. So whether it was cabinet, whether top of the bridges are restored, whether the keyboard is already ready, or whether we have the material for the keyboard, whether it's Taran, Elforin, Ivorit, Ivoplast, or anything else. So you have to have all the materials ready, like Heller bass strings or others, or I know Bechstein hammers or Renner dampers, or the customer wishes to have nickel-plated casters, and you just have to order it, and you have to make everything in place. So what I always say is that leading a restoration of a piano is like leading healthy organism. In order to have it healthy, you have to have systems, and in order to lead this restoration, you have to have your own system. So first the documentation, then this visualization of plan, and the third one, this relationship with piano techs. You have to learn to trust them, and they have to learn to trust you, because I remember my very first moments, I didn't know anything about pianos because I didn't remember much from the dinners with my parents. But I had to trust them at the very beginning. I told them, like, okay, guys, listen, there's restoration to do. I'm no expert here. You are the experts. I trust you fully. Just show me what to do, how to do that, what you need for that, and so on and so forth. Sometimes I was fooled, and that was not really fair at the very beginning.
That's so frustrating.
Yes, it was. I have to admit, it was very frustrating. But yeah, we developed these meetings. We were getting more and more honest with each other. Of course, there were people who quit and didn't want to work, let's say, with me, or they wanted to do something else. But there were people who stayed with us, and I could rely on them.
Yeah.
And they were totally honest with me, sometimes telling me, oh, Sandra, I would do that differently.
The communication, yeah.
Yes, communication. And, even in private relationship, communication sometimes is failing. And this is the basics, right? So documents and planning and people are the most important things. However, I have to admit that even though you are super prepared to that and you are very confident that you did everything as it should be, then there is a customer who calls you, Oba, I have a container to you, like 20 grand pianos from the US. I need to have it finished in 6 months. And you are so excited, and you are just saying, okay, let's do it. We can do it. And you have to keep in mind, because it's a real story, you have to keep in mind that we restore per year around 100 instruments, which is not that much, but still. And when he called me, he told me he has 20 more, which I have to finish in 6 months, while I already have our European instruments at work, and I also had to do the deadline, right? And I was so overwhelmed, but also so excited. I put all of these instruments in the calendar, in our schedule, on our maps and everything. And our schedule was just like a rainbow, all of a sudden, full of arrows, full of red alerts and comments, and the customer who was changing his mind all the time. And even though you are very prepared, you have to learn how to be flexible. And the most important lesson, you have to learn how to say no. Because at that time, maybe I knew that, but I didn't know how to implement it. And I said yes, why I should say no. And I had to set boundaries.
Yes.
And from that moment, I knew that if I say no, I can harm the business, I can harm my piano techs, I can harm myself and my customer, which I really don't want to. So I should have set boundaries and tell him, I'm sorry, I cannot make it with that deadline. I can't make it with that demands and request. I need more time. And actually that was a disaster at that time. But we solved that, we solved that. We find solution. We have to be more and more flexible, same as he had to be a little bit more flexible about that. We understood each other's positions. And when you communicate, and he could see that he can trust us, and we told him honestly at the end of the day.
Yeah, good. I feel like saying no is the biggest resource that technicians can have, and it is also the biggest one that they struggle with. But if you say yes to everything, that's how you get in too deep, and you end up shooting yourself in the foot, because, you take on too much.
You get into troubles, yes.
I'm also so jealous of your calendar system. Like, I wish I was able to work with something like that, and especially keeping track of everything you're doing. And for other technicians listening, I mean, writing down details of the work that you do so that if somebody calls you back and say, hey, I think you messed up something, you can say, actually, I wrote down everything that I did and you have a record of it and it's not my fault. So important.
Trust me, there was so many situations like that, people calling me, oh, you did this instead of that. But then I saw his email, I had it in my file, I know when he asked me to do that. And yeah, there's a proof.
Yes.
I love to have a proof.
The receipts.
Yes, exactly, because there were so many situations when we just talked over phone and said, okay, so let's do it. Let's make this iron frame looking like a Steinway.
Yeah.
And I was, okay, if that's your wish, I would not really go for that, but it's your grand piano. It's, you own that. It's your decision. And said, yes, yes, yes. And then I didn't even write in an email for a confirmation. And when we brought him the grand piano and it had this beautiful Steinway color inside, he was like, why? And I was like, you asked for that.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't prove him that he asked for that. He just forgot.
Ugh.
We didn't argue. He loved that, but he was just surprised. And I was same surprised, like, why you're surprised? So.
Well, pivoting from your rebuilding experience, why don't you tell us about your other business, the Piano Guard humidity system? How it works, what parts are involved, and why it's different from other humidity control options.
For sure, I will not compare anything because I don't like to, and I don't think it's the right thing to do. But I can tell surely about Piano Guard. So Piano Guard is my new piano-related love.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud of Piano Guard. I started the idea of it like around 3 years ago, and it took me a lot of time to understand the needs, to see what people require in this new piano market with these new generations. And I was a little bit frustrated by the situation when we restored piano and it went to the customer. It was in his living room while there was a very harsh winter. And then he calls me telling this story that, you know what? One night I was sleeping very tightly in my bed and then I heard a huge boom and I didn't know what was that. But then, after a month, I had my piano tuner coming over to tune my beautiful piano, and then he told me about a crack on the soundboard, which I did not notice. So tell me, why did it happen while I entrusted my grand piano to you?
No.
Yeah, there's a huge crack, and I was like, all right. I knew it was winter. I knew his house was pretty new. I knew there was very well-used floor heating. That probably was the killer. But we had no proof that he didn't take care about the piano as the warranty said, because it has to be between 18 to 22 degrees Celsius. It has to be in the humidity between 40 to 60 and so on and so forth. But we couldn't prove him wrong, We had no proof to tell that it's not our fault. So we had to take the grand piano back, do the restoration all over again. Then I was like, we have to change that. I have to do something about that. And that was the main inspiration. Mm-hmm. So I knew that my system needs to show the data, like humidity data. And if it could show humidity data, then it could also control the humidity level and maybe dry it a little bit. So I was thinking like, okay, let's create an entirely new humidity control system for the instruments we love. At first I wasn't sure, but then I spent some time at home doing some drawings. Of course, before that, I did some drawings of constructions of the beams under the grand piano, the skeleton. So I knew that in Steinways it goes like the sun, I call it. In Dębska is different, in Bosendorfer is different. So I was like, how much space do I have for such a system? How I would like it to work, what I need it to work, and what are my biggest requirements. So I made myself a list. And I knew that I want a very reliable data. So I knew I want a lot of sensors under the grand piano. But I also didn't want to harsh the grand piano with too much drilling. Meantime, I contacted my friend who's an engineer, and we had a small meeting, and he said, yeah, it's doable. Let's go for it. And I said, okay, so I will just do some designs, this drawing. He will take care about, electronics. And then after a few months, I designed small sensors, which could get the data, what is happening inside of the piano, which should be, placed in the triangle under the soundboard to give you in the most further point of the grand piano. So the data will be from spread places.
Getting the whole picture, getting the whole piano.
Oh, yes. Then I was also hoping not to make point heatings.
Different points to heat the soundboard?
Yes, I didn't want to focus on one point. I wanted to focus on the entire soundboard. And then humidification.
Yes.
Humidification, that's what we call it. And I wanted to also focus on that a lot because that was the main problem, especially here in Poland when the winters are super dry. The other challenge was humidifier. I wanted it to have big capacity of water, and I wanted it to spread humidity all over the space as well, which was a huge challenge. But finally, when I had my first prototype, which truly was ugly, I didn't like it that much, but it worked, it worked. And that I was like, okay, it's working, it's good. I just need to make it look more innovative. And then I had the third one, the fourth one, the sixth one, the seventh one, the 10th one, and I had the 14th one, which was looking not bad. It worked because at that point I decided to test it myself. So I sent it to my friends who are living near the Baltic Sea, which is a very extreme, place. Then I sent the other one to a hotel where I spent almost each winter when I was a kid, and it was in the mountains. Then I sent it to my friend who is a tuner. He installed it in the theater. There was one in the concert hall. All of them were in Poland, and I just was gathering the data. I asked them what they see, and I was just collecting data, and it was very complex. You had to go through everything and separate it. And I was like, okay, I have it. I still just don't like one thing, and it was humidifier. I still didn't like the look of it, but I got this bravery in me. I found it myself.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so I will contact my customers from Piano Renovation Professional who would be willing to test that. I also put a little bit of an advertisement in the Europiano magazine. This is a very famous magazine in Europe, which gives you the latest, news about pianos, about associations, meetings. It's a great magazine actually. So there was a bit of an advertisement, and once I did that, my phone was ringing like crazy, and I was was just picking the phone and saying, do you have it? Where do you have it? How much for this? I would like to buy this and this. And I was like, okay, it's just for testing yet. If you would like to test it, you need to buy it, because it's a huge investment. And they were very willing to do that because it was something new. They knew that it's connected to app that shows you the real-time data. So they really want to have it because they said people are looking for something new. They want to have everything on the phone and so on and so forth. So I was very excited. I had this huge Google meeting online with sometimes 3 to 4 people, sometimes 10 of them. And finally, I got almost 50 testers from Europe, from Asia, one tester from the US, and one tester from Australia. And I didn't believe it. It was so exciting. And finally, when they started to test it, it took a while because I wanted them to test it during the summer. Some of them tested it during the winter. But generally, some of them had it only for 1 month. Some of them had it for 1 full year, which was very exciting. And actually, the biggest feedback I got was from them, from piano technicians who knew the piano world, who knew how piano behaves at customers, that sometimes they do not pour the water. Sometimes they give me these comments, and I was like, oh my God, myself, I would never come up with all of these ideas. So I knew that I cannot end up with this prototype. I need to build a new one, but very similar one. So I only changed a few things in the app. I changed a few things in the programming. I changed the humidifier, a little bit of control panel, and it was ready to go. I had to prepare some boxing certification, which was
a pain.
Yes, because in Australia there are lots of restrictions, same in the US. European Union is not making it simpler. But all in all, I made it, and during 2024, in October, I started to sell it worldwide.
Wow.
And it's rolling step by step. So this process was very exciting. It was also very frustrating, but it was very much worth it. I'm very satisfied with it. And I know that people I'm working with are great piano passionate people, and I know that if anything happens, they can just call me. They really trust me. So sometimes even having this installation of Piano Guard and something is happening, they are not sure what, they are just giving me a call and, oh Sandra, just 5 minutes, can you please tell me? And I'm like, all right, let's go for it. And I'm still getting some feedback. I know that it will not be the last version of Piano Guard because trust me, I really love to introduce new things into life, and I really want to make it perfect for all the users.
That is so exciting. What do technicians need to know about installation? Any prior experience or tools needed? How long does the installation take?
My plan was to make this installation as simple as possible. And actually, if you are a good piano technician, I think you are creative enough to install it maybe in 45 to 1 hour. What I would do and what I always advise to my installers is that if there's possibility, please take a picture of the soundboard to be prepared. So in foam, you can just make a drawing what kind of component of piano guard I should put where. So for example, sensor here and there, the humidifiers here and one there, humidifier in the center, then the control panel, how to put all the wires in one place just to make sure they are not
so ugly
rolling on the floor. Yes. And then an information panel, and sometimes the skeleton of the beams is very complicated, especially in historical pianos. There's one beam, very long beam, and then the other one very short. You have to be very careful about that. You have to be very creative. But I can see that piano technicians are super creative. They are innovators. And this is like a secret society to me. They have their tricks and patterns. But the hardest thing I've noticed, especially for the people who are not really familiar into technology, is the registration of the app. In the piano guard manuals, inserted some troubleshooting guides which can let you find a few solutions if something is not connecting with Wi-Fi. It also depends on the house. I heard that there are so many difficulties if it comes to philharmonies or academies because Wi-Fi signal can be very poor out there. Mm-hmm. And this is why piano guard will have one new innovation in some time, not yet, we are still testing it, but piano guard will not only be depending on Wi-Fi and on the internet connection, but it will have this small memory card inserted in the control panel that you can just pull out and put it into the computer, and you don't need any internet. You just see the data in the computer. What's the humidity level? What's the temperature level? Water or there is no water, and so on and so forth. So after all, if you are not really a lover of the internet, I meant, or passionate about the Wi-Fi connections, you will find another solution. So it will be for both, yeah.
So then how about tools? Is it just a screwdriver and a drill?
Yes, it's just a drill, I guess. Sometimes you need a screwdriver and that's all you need.
Amazing.
Yes, I know that piano technicians really admire the way humidifier is installed because I call it like in a bracket. Yes, really love the idea because all they need to do is to install this base of the bracket and then just hang the humidifier, and that's all.
I believe there's currently a limited supply of systems that will be distributed through ProPTN. Am I correct in thinking that they will soon be available for pre-order?
Yes. I'm so excited about that because when I was in Las Vegas this year, I've met you and you introduced me to Hannah from ProPTN, and I love the girl. She's a really hard worker, and she's so excited about things, and I love working with her. So actually everything went very fast. She ordered her first set just to test whether she can sell it to the bigger audience, and she was very thrilled while she installed her first piano guard. She was very enthusiastic about that. I loved it. So she decided to have more install, and I know that she has sent a beautiful newsletter, and we are launching together a piano guard in the US. I think it will be wonderful.
I think it will be quite wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, I really invite people warmly to try and test piano guard. You have to try. I know Hannah is building a quiz in order to...
Yes, an installation manual.
Yes. It will surely help you to understand how it works, even though it's pretty simple, I guess.
For institutional technicians, you can also just install the sensors rather than the humidity control system, so you can just keep an eye on what the pianos are doing without having to install the rest of it.
Yes, that's right. It's called Humidity Observer. So if you're not sure whether your piano needs humidity control, you just can have a system for 1 year installed, let's say, and just to prove the institution that, okay, this piano needs help, and you have this proof, and then you can go for the entire system. But
Awesome.
I think it's a big helper. In Australia, we have also a humidifier because some locations really do not need humidifier, so they install only dehumidifiers, and that's also in sale.
I am so freaking excited to try that out.
Please do.
And so now I want to talk about your experience as a woman in piano technology. Did you face a lot of resistance when you first started taking charge of your father's company as a woman?
I'm not sure whether it's about the gender or rather generation difference. You know, there's this huge discrepancy between generations. So if I started to work with people who were over 50 and I was 25, you know, half the age, they didn't feel very comfortable listening to what I've got to say. But, you know, through the years, I can see a huge difference because when I used to go for my first piano fairies, piano conventions, I was one among not so many girls during that conventions. I felt really, oh my God, I'm so young. And there's 3 more ladies maybe, and we are the only one among entire man world. And you could always see tall guys with hands full of work. But then I can see when I was last time in Amsterdam, when I was in other conventions in Nuremberg, there are more and more girls very much interested in working with their hands. And honestly, I can say from what I see that they are taking care of instruments a little bit more emotional. Sometimes they are more sensitive with the customers, you know. Sometimes they find solution nobody would think of.
Yes.
I can see that women are more and more open into this physical world, and it's beautiful because, you know, when I'm introduced to another girl, another lady, another woman, and they are asking me, oh, so how the guys are solving this and that, and I'm telling them, and they say, you know, I found a solution, or I did a little tool myself, which is making it easier. So women are really creative when they are wives and they are moms, when they are taking about their own parents. They need to be creative. They are taking things a little bit more calmer.
More empathetic.
Yes. I really love to work with ladies, so I was very happy when I met you and I met Hannah. And it was very, very refreshing because in my world, in my company, I have only 2 great ladies. One is over 50 and one is around 40 years old. And both of them are lovely. And I really love to work with them because every time they see that I'm struggling with the men and I'm still younger than all of them, they are just using their words to convince them, and it's working, you know. We are helping each other, and I think it's beautiful that finally this world is sharing things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I felt very privileged to be raised by parents who did encourage me to be very hands-on and very physical and work in a workshop. And so early on, that gave me a lot to work with. But what is your most practical advice for other female technicians who are negotiating their worth in a workspace, contract, or place of employment? Do you have insights on what they need to ask for, how to ask for it, what they should accept in return?
To know your numbers. And I know that sometimes in negotiations, especially for women, silence is a big trick. So when you're negotiating and you're telling, this tuning cost me this and that, and the customer says, oh, why don't we make it cheaper? You made it a little bit shorter than my other piano tuner used to have. Then you're just going silent. What can you say, right? I mean, it's your number and he just should pay that. You have no comments for that. And then he has nothing else to say. He's required to pay you and he should pay you without any comments.
Yes.
So you have to know your number. And also big advice is about yes and no. You know, no has same power as yes.
Yes.
So you have to set your boundaries a lot as a woman, especially because sometimes people are too overwhelming and then you feel pressure. And then you say, okay, maybe I should make it a little bit cheaper, but don't go for it.
No is a complete sentence.
Yes.
And being able to say, I tune this many pianos, or I do it in this time, and I care this much, which is why I did this here, something like that. It is so important to stand by those and say, this is my work and this is the quality that I expect. And
as a woman, you should have your rules. You should have a list of rules that you don't push them in any other direction. They're just staying with you.
Is there something you wish you would have said yes to in your career?
I should have been a little bit more brave, and I shouldn't turn down so many cooperations that I've been offered. I've been offered a lot of cooperations from Asia, from Europe, and at that time I was a little bit afraid that I will not manage to lead the company and then another project and the other one. And even though I was excited that I got these offers because they saw the potential in me, I still didn't feel quite ready for that. And I was thinking that if I already have that much on my plate, I will not be able to have more. And that was actually wrong thinking. So till today, I regret that I said no to so many offers. Even this year, I had 2 beautiful new projects that sounded really amazing to me. And I believe it would be super fruitful in the future. I just couldn't let myself do this. I had to be a little bit realistic, but I'm not sure if that's what I should go for. And I regret that a little bit. So being a little bit more brave, believe in yourself. I also became a mom twice during this 10 years. And it was very demanding time, having 2 babies, then going to school with them. All of the illnesses they had, you have to devote so much more time to them. Sleepless nights, full of crying. You were totally tired. And that was also something that I had to take into consideration while considering those offers, because I knew that this company takes a lot of my time. Piano Guard project is extremely killing sometimes, and being a mom to 2 crazy, beautiful sons is already a lot, and I think I need to prioritize things. Even though I regret I turned out these offers, I'm hoping it's a good decision, and I know that I will get more and more, so maybe there will be time when I will feel confident enough with my strengths and, with my general situation at home. So maybe there will be time that I will feel confident enough to go for something new.
Do you find your sons experiencing the industry similar to how you did? Or
when I was a kid, our world was totally different. Not that much internet, not that much computers and phones. And so I remember my father, he was starting his day at work very early and he was coming back very late. So I remember him having time on the weekends and evenings or some family dinners because he was so into work. But I appreciate that he showed me this, that you can work and you can be happy about that and you are passionate and it's beautiful. I really appreciate it for that. But now when I'm coming home and having a dinner with my family, the phone is all the time buzzing. Everybody wants to know everything immediately. And the phone is buzzing not only about the calling, but about the emails, about the posts, about the Instagram info, comments, opinions. And it really makes you crazy because you want to have a few hours just with yourself sometimes with your boys because they need that and you need the time with them. And you feel so confused because you know that somewhere there is a person who really requires the information and you need to make it quickly. So sometimes when I put them to bed and it's around, 9 o'clock in the evening, I have to go to my small office, which I have at my home. And I'm just turning on the computer and sitting there and I sit at 2 o'clock in the night and I'm just, oh my God, there's more and more and more. And this work is never ending because of this access, you have access to everything and it's very disturbing, So I think they see me differently than I saw my dad because I knew he's working and he's somewhere there working and they can see me that I'm reading to them, but also I'm checking sometimes my phone, which I'm trying to change a lot. But they can see my frustration. And I can feel that. So this is something I really have to work on. And I know that a lot of moms need to pay attention to that. And we really have to change that. But it's very hard. So the strong work-life boundaries can be difficult to set. But you got a work ethic from your father, Yes. Well, it's funny because I feel like there are a couple businesses that are male-run. And when I have contacted them for help or insight, it'll take a couple business days to get back to me. And then sometimes they're asking really dumb questions in response. And you have to say, yes, I already tried that. And I did X, Y, and Z. So I think it's mostly understanding that you don't have to meet the highest
bar of excellence, especially when it's personal family time or setting healthy work-life boundaries. And I think anybody who might speak ill of work-life boundaries are not people who you'd want to put in that effort for, because it's a certain amount of disrespect when you can't respect people's boundaries. Yeah,
that's exactly true what you're saying, and I totally agree. You know, at Piano Renovation, when I started working, I got to know the clients, and some of them were really disrespectful toward me, but some of them were very easygoing, and they understood that I'm going through illness. And they said, okay, just take your time, get healthy, and come back to me. And I have to admit that I decided to work only with people who are people, you know?
Yeah.
So we lost, and we made it on purpose to lose contact with some of them who were disrespectful, who didn't respect the boundaries. And actually, Piano Guard system made me feel that it's something new, and I really want to show it from the greatest perspective, that we are always on time. Mm-hmm. You can call us whenever. We are always available. People love it, I guess. And maybe that's what made me lost myself in it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's about things that you want to be excellent in.
When you say that you only want to work with good clients, have you ever had to fire a difficult client? And if so, how did you do that? Do you have tips for doing that?
I only remember this customer from Piano Renovation because at the very beginning of my career there, I always used to go to the customer with already restored instrument. Whether it was Spain, whether it was, I know, London, I just go there with my driver and with the grand pianos. So one day I knew that I have to go to face the guy who already seemed very annoying over phone. I'm sorry to say that, but he was extremely annoying. And I know that it was not my only opinion, because he started to work with us because the other company didn't want to work with him any longer. So I went there and I was very stressed, and I said, here's your piano, we just put on the legs, and he started playing on it. And I knew that after shipping, piano is not perfect. It still needs to adjust to the environment. It still needs to adjust to the climate out there. It needs tuning at least a few more times, and so on and so forth. And he wasn't even polite, and he used particularly bad words, and he was, maybe screaming is a big word, but it was very impolite, and it was pain to me, and it was stressing me out. Also my driver, who heard that he's not professional enough, so when he didn't want to pay for our work, I just told him that if the piano stays here, you still need to find a solution, you know, the payment for the invoice. But that was not the most important thing. I also asked him very politely to never ever call us again for a restoration.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't say these words, but it was very polite from me. I tried to hold my breath and be totally professional. And I admit I was, and he never called me again. He paid the invoice. He never put any comment on our Google opinions or anywhere. So I think we just finished this, and we were very honest with each other about that. So.
And after that, you said if somebody doesn't seem good to work with, then no more.
You know, I'm trying not to judge people, because people have different days, worse or better days. Sometimes emotionally they can't handle things. Same me, I'm just a person. I'm just a human being full of, difficulties, I would say. But yeah, I think the most important at work with people is to find solutions and communicate a lot. And once you find a solution, I think everything should go well. For example, we had this grand piano, beautiful Steinway. We restored it according to our standards. We have always the person from Steinway Academy who comes to us and pointing out some issues or what we should work on a little bit more. And then we are sure that after that we will just do it according to what he said, and it's going to be all right. Mm-hmm. And then we delivered this grand piano, and the customer said that he's not really satisfied with it, and he doesn't think that hammers are original Steinway. And I was pretty confused because I had an invoice from Steinway saying it's Steinway. And the hammers are quite characteristic if it comes to Steinway. So we even called, the head of Steinway in Germany, asking him to confirm that these hammers are original. I also called the person who finished the Steinway Academy to also let him know that everything was done according to the perfect craftsmanship if it comes to pianos. And then he was satisfied and said, I'm sorry, it was my mistake. Do not bother any longer. I like the piano. So, yeah, you have to be You have to be very calm, just solve it. And yeah, we got more and more restoration from him. So I think we handle it.
So stay calm is good advice.
Yes. I guess in every discipline of our life, staying calm is, I think, is good. Yeah.
Stay calm, be professional, yeah. Well, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So to wrap up this wonderful interview, can you tell us your favorite part of piano technology? And if applicable, what's your favorite tool?
Oh, yes, I have my favorite tool. And actually, I love the tool. I don't know how it's called in English, but I know you will know what I'm talking about. It's for voicing, the tool for voicing the hammers.
Voicing needles.
Voicing needles. I love this one, because when I was starting the business, there was this Bechsteins from 1920s, and there were these original Bechstein hammers, and I love Bechstein myself. So
yes.
And it's played, and I was like, it plays, but it doesn't have this, flowerish sound, this romantic. Something was missing, and my dad told me, I didn't know that at the time, let's do voicing. Does the customer want voicing? And I said, yeah, I think he wants voicing. Because I didn't know that much at the time. And then my father took these voicing needles, and he did the trick, and then he was like doing the needles, checking the keys, and go all over around, and it was so time consuming, and I just left him there. And in the morning when I came back to work again, he told me, go to this Bechstein and play. And I was like, okay, let's try it. And I played, and oh my God, that was a whole different sound of Bechstein. And that was the one I really wanted. So I love the voicing needles. That's one of my favorite. The second one, of course, is piano guard lately. The love of my life right now.
Yes.
And the hygrometers, yes, I love it. But I think I love mostly everything that is connected to acoustic pianos, which makes them more alive, like, I don't know, piano players, systems, silent systems, any systems that attract people to play more, anything like that. It just touches my heart, and I'm like, oh my God, please create more and more and more. Let the music spread all around people. Please love. I think it's beautiful that people are getting more and more creative, and I love to meet these guys who are the producers of such systems. I'm really a fan, and I'm trying to encourage more and more young people to learn to play the piano, because I know that it's not only about playing, it's also about stimulating brain left and right sphere, right? So you're just getting better with your life, with your emotions. And if you can show emotions through your music, I think it means a lot. And in this modern chaotic world, it's more than needed. It's simply required, in my opinion. So I think anything that is connected to the development of music, especially in acoustic pianos, because that's the heart of music, in my opinion. I just love it then.
Amazing. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Sandra, thank you for joining us today, and I really hope to see you soon.
I really hope to see you in Poland.
Another thank you to Gazelle for sponsoring this episode, and another thank you to Sandra for joining us on the show. The Piano Guard is now for sale through the Pro PTN collection if you have not already ordered your own or sent the link to your tech friends. Hint, hint. You can also visit the Piano Renovation website in the show notes for this episode. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe or leave us a comment, and we will be back very soon with another episode for you, our fabulous listeners. So till then, stay groovy.